When? Middle of the first quarter?
Yeah. Yeah, first.
Middle of the first quarter, right? Yeah. I saw the Super Bowl. Interesting game in Columbus. Looking back at it, the thing that withstanding an 11-plus minute drought and some self-inflicted mistakes late. I think the one thing that I'm really the most disappointed and disgusted with is my personal lack of getting these guys to compete on the glass and how much we've slipped there. That's not anything I want us to be about. And getting beat 45-21 on the glass. The other things withstanding, you don't win on the road doing that. And to have 5 offensive rebounds, I take offense to. And LeBron had 4 rebounds, 3 of them on missed free throws. Why that's a stat, I don't even know why they count those. But the rebounding issues is something that that's me. That's on me. That's my lack of attention to it in practice, staying consistent with it. That's who we have to be. That's who I want our teams to be. Derek told me yesterday a stat I didn't know. We're second in the Big Ten in two-point field goal percentage at just shy of 55%. And yet that number would go through the roof if we would offensive rebound and get points in the paint and then make a few layups. So I feel good about certain things from that aspect, but that was the one thing I was extremely disappointed in the Ohio State game, and something we've got to make a conscientious effort to get back to. And one time I think we were as high as 4 in the country in offensive rebound percentage, and now we're not in the top 50. So we got to get back to that.
I remember early in the year you were talking about LeBron as an elite rebounder, and I still think of him as a good rebounder, and yet that hasn't always happened. And what with him specifically, what's missing there that gets him to an acceptable level in your mind as a rebounder? Well,
I think one of the challenges is for both he and Michael. Neither one of those guys are what you would constitute as elite athletes, and there's a I guess it's a fight we have as coaches. Sometimes it's better just to go chase it than it is to block out, and sometimes it's better to block out than go chase it. And we're kind of we're kind of fighting that inner struggle. What happens is in LeBron's case, he's not the biggest guy out there. So you get a guy like Wesson, who's 280 pounds, and you know he picks up a foul basically face guarding him, trying to block him out like an offensive lineman, which you can't do today. And so getting off their bodies once he hits them is hard. And you've got to be pretty quick and explosive to go do that. And so with LeBron, I'm just going to have him chase balls. Just go get it. And let's play percentages and know that 80% of them go opposite of where they're shot. And let's just go chase balls. And if you're right there in the paint, then yeah, you've got to hit somebody. But our wings aren't rebounding either. But I believe in LeBron, and I think he's frustrated by it.
Brad, tomorrow's the first time you see a team for the second time this season. How do you approach that to make adjustments, and at the same time knowing the team didn't perform against Wisconsin the first time the way you wanted them to?
That's pretty much an understatement. That's the one game all year that we've not been very good at either end. We've been lifeless, and we were lifeless in that game. And I think we had 8 missed layups in the first half. just right at the rim, and give them a lot of credit. Wisconsin really played very well. They've made some roster changes since then, some lineup changes. It's an extremely big team. They're a team that literally just made a couple passes and then drove us. And we fouled them, and we didn't guard the ball very well, and those are all things that we have to do better to guard them. Obviously, Ethan Happ is a guy that is an all-league guy. He does a lot for them. We've got to make his touches a little more difficult than we did in the first game, even though he's going to bring the ball up the court some for him. But, yeah, there wasn't much right in the first game for us, and that was from a competitive point of view, not just an X and O point of view.
Looking at Keita Bates-Diop putting up career high, what can you do to shut down elite scorers in the future like that, guys that can just get to the rim at will and also shoot?
He's the best player in the league, first of all. I told an NBA scout today I thought that. He scores it on all levels. And it's been something that comes as a little bit of a challenge for us because of his size. You know, we're not overly big on the perimeter at times, and with Kipper not in the game and Kipper in foul trouble, that was a matchup that we had to be very, very cautious of as the game moved on. But he's averaging 21, 22 points a game for a reason, and you know, just happened to be his night. And guess what? They needed all of them, and he was a one-man show for them, and to his credit, he was good enough to do that.
When you showed the team the film from the game at Wisconsin, what was maybe their reaction to seeing what they did and maybe more so didn't do?
Oh, I think they were all in pretty much consensus that we didn't play very well, or we didn't play with very much life or energy, and I don't know if that was what the exact reason was for that, but you know, I think there was a sense of disbelief that was actually them out there trying to play, and I don't want to discredit Wisconsin because they were very good that night. That's not what, but the guys I know didn't show up that night.
What does Al Stork's improved offensive production mean for your team?
Well, one, I hope it's confidence. I hope it's space on the floor. Like I said, we're fighting for space. When you're shooting, as Derek said, you know, almost 54, 55% from the two, just think what it'd be if in second in the league. Just think what space would give us making threes, and what that could come to. Mark's playing with great confidence. Mark was terrific. He made a bad foul and he made a bad rotation. We talked about that in post game, that were at the end of the game were things that he can't do that. But his activity has been tremendous. He's been unbelievable all year on the ball. But him playing with confidence, and now he's taking really good shots. He's not trying to take guarded shots. He made a great extra pass. And you know, the first 10 minutes of that ball game the other night, that was a clinic offensively. What I'm trying to get our guys to do is understand that you got to do it for 40 minutes, and that's what happened. You know, the second part of that first half was we just 2 passes, 3 passes, 17, 18, 20 seconds on the shot clock, and we're shooting threes. And we got the ball reversed and turned and got whatever we wanted the first 10 minutes. And you know, we had Ohio State guessing. And then it just, we don't get the ball to the paint. But Mark's play is been exciting to see, and I'm happy for him.
Brad, I think some people are trying to find Mark Smith a breakout game or something like that. But early on in that game, you made some defensive rotations, some defensive plays that you hadn't seen before. What's the progress on that end for Mark?
Oh, he gets better. It's growth. I mean, you know, and I think the one thing that I always go back to with Mark is there's a process of growth. There's a process of getting better, and there's nothing wrong with some struggles. If it was easy, I mean, it would. He's not getting any better. And now, as he's had to deal with a little adversity, probably for the first time in his life, in terms of the game's not as easy for him. And now he's had to grow and he's had to learn. And Mark is unbelievable. I told him yesterday, I can't wait to the off season because you're gonna blow up in terms of a year with Fletch and getting better and the basic things we can work on. But I love Mark Smith because he's got pride. He comes in and wants to talk. He wants to get better. He wants to ask the questions on why. That's a coach's dream, and yet it is a game of execution, and you have to do those things. So when he does those things, I'm fired up because there's a kid with some pride who cares, and I don't worry about Mark as much offensively, and he's in some ways he's one of our best passers, and he can be a great finisher. Too many people are putting too much on what he does or doesn't do offensively. Mark's going to be a 1,000-point scorer and a high assist guy here. But I think if you go back in the history of programs, or especially this one, look at some of the freshmen that have been out there. I think they've all had to grow, and that's what he's going through.
Brad, back here in the back. Is closing out games against high major opponents something that's learned? Is that an experience? Is that culture? Is it all of it gelled together?
You hit them all. It's a topic of our conversations almost every single day. Every single day. And, you know, it's a challenge. We try to shoot free throws in pressure-packed situations with consequences. We try to shoot free throws when they're tired. We try to understand that, you know, it's about being solid. It's about running good offense. We call it the grinder, running offense. It's, you know, it's doing your job. You just being accountable, and it's all of those things. And there's confidence that comes with that. There's a willingness to. I think we have a locker room of guys who all want to win, and at the end of the day, do we expect to win? Great question for them. I think that comes from confidence. You know, we got a locker room with nobody that's been to an NCAA tournament. They don't know how to win at the level I want to win at. So stepping up and making free throws and making a stop and getting a stop, that's the toughness. That's on me. The toughness to not do that, I take that real personal. And you know, we've self-inflicted enough on ourselves.
I'm pretty sure Trent shot like 9 3-pointers against Ohio State. What do you think about in terms of how he was like running the offense? I mean, a few of those seem to be contested shots. I mean, with a guy like him, does he kind of have the green light?
In a certain sense, I haven't told one guy on this team not to shoot it. When guys come in, it's like I told DeMonte the other day. I said, DeMonte, I got no problem with you. He's shooting 6%. He's shooting 6% from the three-point line. DeMonte took a 3. I said, the only thing that upsets me, because DeMonte comes in the gym every single day, he hasn't missed a day, and shoots ball after ball after ball after ball. I believe in those guys. The only thing that upsets me is when he shot it. Okay, he shot it with 19-20 on the shot clock. He also shot it when he had LeBron wide open on the post. I want him to shoot that ball. With Trent, I want him to shoot the basketball. They switched. They had a matchup problem. I think we witnessed the game before, him hitting 5 in a row or 6 in a row. I'm not going to be that guy to take that freedom away from him. Now, I do think there's some things that I would like to see Trent do better, and that's driving at bigs, and he's got to add a floater in the offseason to his game. He's got to add some of those things. But that's that's part of the growth process. But yeah, Trent's along with everybody else on our team. If they're putting in the time shooting the shots, I'm gonna let them shoot them.
Brad, how are you assessing now a few games with Kipper and LeRon on the floor together, given the positives of the offense you get and the trade-offs with the fouls?
We need Kipper on the floor. Kipper's potentially our best rebounder. He's a matchup problem, and yet, you know, a great example. Kipper, I think, picked up his first or second foul in the first half at Ohio State. They have the rebound, and he's dead tired, and he just reaches in and smacks him because he wants the clock to stop so he can get out. But over the course of a game, that's where you have to be tough enough to play through that. We're not tough enough yet to play through that. And so over the course of a game, now he's got to sit. Now we're in the middle of a 10-minute drought, and a guy who's cooking. He was going offensively early. And we have to play through that maturity or immaturity, whatever you want to call it, or lack of toughness. We need those guys on the court. LeRon's shooting 60+% from the field. You don't think I wouldn't want to get him the ball every single time down the court? Yet we can't commit silly fouls. LeRon, I think, led the Big Ten last year in minutes per 40 minutes. It's a problem. At some point, we've got to become accountable for that. And at some point, it becomes, and it has become. You know, I had Trent, Kipper, and LeRon in foul trouble. Doesn't take much to figure out why you go 11 minutes without a basket, and let alone we didn't get to the foul line, nor did we get the ball in the paint. So those are things that affect our team a great deal.
You just mentioned that you'd like to see Trent Frazier kind of develop a floater with his game. I mean, getting back to Mark Smith, like what would you like to see him improve on during the offseason in terms of his game, maybe even finishing around the rim?
The rim's the hardest thing in the world to get to when you're a guard. I think you watch every NBA guy, every next level guy, they all have a floater. They've all got, you know, it's something I teach. It's something I want. You've got to be able to go with both hands. You've got to be able to get it off. Every guard I've been around, I walked in for the radio show the other night, and they had Hardwood Classics, K-State versus KU in 2010, and there was Denny Clemente and Jacob Pullen both shooting floaters. You've got to have that. You don't get to the rim against size. And so you've got to get that off before. And that's something that all of our guys will spend a lot of time in the off season working on, as well as working on their other, you know, their weaknesses with their other hand and so on and so forth. So it's a great time to get better, and that's what we do. It's what I take a lot of pride in, is we get guys to improve on weaknesses and add things to their game.
Coach, you mentioned not having a free throw attempt during that stretch and knowing how much you want those. What do you attribute that to?
Turnovers. I mean, we had a stretch here. We turned it over 4 or 5 times. We took 6 threes in that stretch. We spent all day yesterday just working offensively, trying to get guys to understand when you get the ball to the third side. And we did that in the first half. It was great. We were great in our quick series, early in the possessions and late in the possessions, and it's about it's about allowing the defense to mess up sometimes. And when you're going so well, why stop doing that? And that's what we do. We get impatient. I don't know if it's immaturity. I don't know, but. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, that's another thing I want Trent to do. I want Trent to get to the line at some point in his career 200+ times a season. That's part of it. Not being afraid to get hit, not being afraid to challenge those guys and go at Big's hips and draw fouls, and we didn't do a very good job of that at Ohio State, that's for sure.
Coach, Io had his jersey retired last night in Morgan Park. What do you know that meant to him, and that kind of thing? Just what do you know about that and what that might mean?
That's pretty special for a senior to get his jersey retired, and I think that's a tribute to what he's meant to that program, what he's meant to that school. I think it's a tribute to the character of young man that he is, and you know, we all know he's a really good player. That speaks for itself. Good players, you have to be really good to get your jersey retired, but I think it also speaks volumes to the type of character he is.
Have you heard of any other high schoolers getting their jerseys retired before the season ends like that?
I'm sure it's been out there. I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it until it
Just seems a little unconventional.
you know, until I've had to deal with it. It's the first one I've had, I think, but pretty cool, I think.
I'm going to open it up for the phone line. Steve, I think you're on there. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Brad, Steve Greenberg from Chicago sometimes. I have a couple, I guess, broader kind of questions, but first is, a year ago at this time, your Oklahoma State team was upsetting West Virginia, a top 10 team on the road, and getting into what became really a season-changing hot streak. It must have changed so much for that team, that group, including how they perceive themselves. And that it might be that it's too late for this team to change its season quite to that extent, but
Says who?
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, all you got to do is get hot at the right time.
That's what I want to ask you. What's still at stake?
Everything.
You look at the big picture.
Everything. Again, and I think I have maybe one flaw as a coach is the big picture. I can't get to that point because I probably coach from the glass half empty philosophy most times because I'm always trying to get it full. And the only way I know to do that is to look at it every day, day by day. I can't get that far ahead, but yet, okay, we played a really bad game against Wisconsin. Who else has beat us? I mean, we've self-inflicted about 6 or 7 times on us. So that belief, man, keeps with me, and I know if we can run offense a little better, I know if we can keep Kipper and LaRon out of foul trouble, and, man, anything can happen. I'm a believer in that, and I'm a believer in our locker room and our guys, and if they can just keep believing, and why not? Why not? Who says we can't? And don't tell me we can't, because, you know, we're going to do everything we can to prove you wrong. So that's the only way I know, Steve.
Yeah. If you can think back to that Northwestern game on 1st of December, remember you lose in overtime. Afterwards, you were really disappointed, and you said as much. What do you remember about what you were thinking at that point as far as what the team might be capable of over the long haul of the season? Did you have anything in mind back then?
I don't remember the specific moment. I think I remembered that I've got to figure out how to get Trent on the floor. I think we were trying to, you know, if you recall, Trent didn't play very much and wasn't playing very much at that time. But I was, I'm so simple. I'm in the moment. It's always about the process for me. How can I make the process that day better to help us? And you know, I go out every single night and expect to win. I go to practice every day preparing to win, and I don't get much beyond that. And I woke up this morning at 3:30 when I couldn't sleep, and I'm watching Wisconsin and figuring out, how can we beat them? How can I help our guys? That's how I function, and I don't get maybe enough big picture. Maybe I should, but I just know that the process, if it holds true for us, the process has been really good to me in my career. And I haven't deviated enough from that.
I appreciate it. Great stuff. Thank you.
Thanks. A what? No, we'll get that tonight.
We should probably wrap up. This practice is in 18 minutes, so. We gotta go. All right, players next door, and they're back here at 2:15.